We have lefts and we have rights, and we have all the road course ringers you could ask for as NASCAR hits Indy Road Course this weekend. Tonight, we break down our DFS tiers and best bets for the Verizon 200.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Backroad. It's In Between Media's fantasy NASCAR and NASCAR betting show. Sorry for the delay on the start time. I had some technical difficulties with my laptop, but hey, isn't it a beautiful thing that iPhones have such good cameras and such good quality that I can run this show right off my cellular device? So much appreciated for you tuning in. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock here tonight. Seth, it is the Indy Road Course, and I have here in all caps in the show sheet, or at least with a bunch of exclamation points, feels like the road course ringer era is back, and this is going to be exciting this weekend at the Indy Road Course.
Man, talk about a great time in NASCAR. We've had so many great races. Michigan Monday was fun. Chris Buescher doubles down, goes back to back. So it's been really good racing the last couple of months. And now we come to Indy Road Course, which I think is another underrated track on this Cup Series circuit. And we have everyone coming out of the bat caves going for this race, man. It is getting really fun in NASCAR. We got SVG, we got Brodie, we got a couple new names to the circuit as well. So I'm pumped up, Elliot. How are you doing as we head out west from us here in Pennsylvania?
Yep, a little bit further west, and definitely exciting that Indy is still a marquee event, even though, we don't race the Oval anymore. Maybe that'll change in the future, but we race the road course, but it's still a prestigious event. These guys are going to bring their A game, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I'm really excited to talk about it. First, we got to take a look in the rear view, though, at Michigan. So we had a good-looking race that started on Sunday, ended on Monday, of course. And Chris Buescher wins 2 in a row. Of course, RFK had run well at the short tracks. But for them to get a win at Michigan, 2 in a row for RFK, Buescher has more wins in the last 9 days or whatever, in the last 10 days than he had in years and years before that. And he even beat a man who is now possibly known as Monday Truex Jr. He's won Monday races a lot throughout his career. Had the best car for just long swaths of that race, to the point where I was even just barely paying attention. So I was like, Truex is just driving through everybody. He's going to make it through. He's going to dominate this one. And Chris Buescher ends up getting the win in that 17 car. And maybe this is a hot take. The 17 car, I think, is firmly in the championship contention for me now.
Man, I mean, they've shown they can do a little bit of everything. Richmond wasn't a huge surprise because we've known he can run good at Richmond. However, this was a surprise. His stats going into Michigan, I think maybe he had one top 10, if that, in his career at Michigan, if he ever had a top 10. So again, It was another one. The stats, the driver history kind of deceived us a little bit. Even on some of these bigger tracks this year, like that, those intermediate long ones, we hadn't seen that speed from Buescher. But we should have, watched that qualifying round, and Buescher looked very, very fast, almost pulled that son of a bitch as well. So, we should have been on that, I think, after practice and qualifying, but it was just hard to believe that someone like that could go back to back. But man, hats off to him. Hats off to RFK, Elliott. They have totally turned it around. A year ago, you didn't want to bet on them. You didn't want them in your fantasy lineups, but besides an occasional road course. But I mean, they are firing, and they look like the best Ford team in the garage this second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. And like I said, I think that Chris Buescher is a well enough rounded driver. Of course, he was never necessarily talked about as being one of those well-rounded top guys because he hasn't really been in top equipment. I think RFK is becoming top equipment when it comes to the Fords, and it's really showing what Chris Buescher has shown before. He's a former Xfinity champ. He outran Chase Elliott running full-time in Xfinity in those Roush cars back in the day. So this isn't a guy to sleep on, and I think we are seeing the career awakening of Chris Buescher as a guy who we have to think about a little more often as a potential threat to win, which could even include this week. Seth, I see a lot of X's here on your betting card. How much of this or how little of this do you want to go through?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this, man. Like, call me Alex Bowman because I'm in a summer slump right now. Ever since Sonoma, we hit our biggest outright of the year, 33-1 on our guy MTJ. That was a great race. Glad to see that happen. However, didn't really hit much since then. It's been very back and forth. We just had 2 bad races in a row. So I apologize to anyone who tailed us last week. We were on Hamlin and we were on Reddick. Again, it felt like we were on the right people. Reddick was 12-1, opened up for us there. So we were on him early. He had a chance. He came out of the pits above Chris Buescher. He had a chance to win that race. Of course, his pit crew fucks it over for him once again. But overall, man, it was really cool to see Reddick have a little bit of speed. But, we got burned there. Hamlin came through on the top 5. You got to continue to hammer Denny Hamlin on ovals, man. He's been so hot. And then, is it me or do some of these, Pocono felt chaotic? Michigan felt chaotic this season, Elliot. We saw Byron out early. We saw Elliot out early, Bell out early. That kind of blew up my betting card in stage 1. I kind of knew it was going to be unless I hit my outright, it was going to be a net negative week.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And with the Alex Bowman, the summer slump just continues. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's start to look ahead at the horizon forecast.
Let's do it.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So the Indy Road Course is 14 turns, just under 2.5 miles, of course. Love your lefts and love your rights. You got the big, big funnel. Everybody goes into turn 1 and just pinballs off of each other. Couple of changes this year. There will be a more certain penalty if you cut around that turn 1, like Ross Chastain did at the end of last year. And also, to try and avoid that bottleneck, the restart zone has been moved further back, just coming out of turn 14, which is right before you kind of make that right turn to get back onto the Indy straightaway. The restart zone is there to try and give people a little more passing room to try and avoid having cars 11 wide into turn 1. Try to have them settle it before they pinball off of each other every time going through 1 on restarts.
Yeah, and I think this might come back to being a war of attrition at the end of the day. I hate to say that, but that's kind of what we get sometimes at COTA. Sometimes we get it here at Indy Road Course as well. Pretty much looking at this, trying to handicap this race, Elliot, I am factoring in all the road courses from this year as well as last year a little bit as well, getting that 2022 data in the next gen car. I think you can factor in Chicago a little bit, but it's really kind of hard to. That was such a unique track, had some weather going on there as well. Is there anything else other than those tracks, looking at Indy specifically in 2022 and 2021? Is there anything else you're looking at? Because, I mean, there's data out there, thanks to our guy Ryan at iFantasy Race, of a late running order before the chaos. Like we know that the chaos could come late in this one. So anything else you're looking at?
Now, for me, it's the past races here as well as road courses this year. Oftentimes I can be what have you done for me lately kind of guy. Obviously, the stuff last year and in past years in any road course is important, but I'm going with the what have you done for me lately. Who's been good on road courses this year? Who's been good lately? Obviously, Chris Buescher, I think, is going to be a hot pick, but it'll be fun to see here. Are you about ready to jump into the tire tiers or anything else?
Yeah, no, let's go ahead and do it. I do want to shout out the chat real quick. We got Dee Dee in here tonight. She's saying hello to us, saying that was well said. Dee Dee, thank you for being on our cooking show, Cooking with Sven, last night. It was good to see you. That Tuscan chicken, man, looked damn good, Dee Dee. Looked damn good. So keep doing your thing over there. Elliot, yeah, let's go ahead, man. Let's jump into the tire tiers and let's break this down from a DFS perspective.
Let's roll. Well, Seth, I will go through some of the driver changes and things in just a moment. As with technical difficulties go, I need to step out for just 5 seconds, the first pick or two, and be back in just a flash.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So we are looking at this race, and this is one we have to start factoring in these top drivers that are coming in from different series. They are the road course ringers. They're bringing it here in 2023. And I think when you look at this board, MTJ is the top as far as salary, 10.5, 10.3 for Tyler Reddick, and then 10.1 for SVG. Chase Elliott still up in that $10,000 range as well. And for me, I can't put Chase Elliott up in this top tier. He's been too inconsistent as of late. Same with Tyler Reddick. The dude is ballsy fast. He was great here last year, took home this victory. However, at the end of the day, there is one guy I think who deserves to be top tier here, and it is Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. belongs in the A tiers right now. This guy, everywhere we go, he is fast. He has shown it to us on road courses, one Sonoma. He has shown us to us on short tracks, one Dover. And then he was just balls to the wall, should have won Michigan, raced really cleanly with Chris Buescher. So Martin Truex Jr., if you want a guy who's averaging just about 50 fantasy points per contest, isn't going to fuck you over. Like, that's the thing with your guy MTJ. He is not going to fuck you over at all. Safe pick. I think also right next to him should be SVG. Shane Van Gisbergen is a dude. And I think now give him another week in the car. He is now contemplating coming over here, stepping away from his supercar racing over in Australia. In his first Cup race, yes, he was the best street racer by far. But this guy showed a lot, man. And I think now he's coming back with this under his belt. And when you look at the advanced metrics, like, it wasn't just SVG happened to win that race. It was no fluke, guys. He started third in that race. He had the #1 total speed ranking in that race as well. I mean, what else do you want from him? It never slipped beyond third in the total speed rankings coming from iFantasy Race. Like, SVG dominated there. Elliot, just kind of getting through here. We have SVG and MTJ. MTJ is my #1 driver, and then SVG. Kind of going on here about how that wasn't a fluke from our guy Shane. Like he dominated that entire race. He came from the back on some bad pit strategy and made it happen, even though the rain was coming.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two obvious picks here. Thanks for taking that for a minute. Of course, on my phone, didn't have a charger plugged in, realized the battery was low. Had to go on a wild goose chase for a charger to plug into the setup here. But hey, we're here, we're thriving. This is the back road, and we love it. So I'm going to put Tyler Reddick up here. I'm kind of surprised you left him for me, honestly. You know, obviously these two guys are great.
Can't do it.
Reddick, yeah. But COTA top speed ranking, best total speed ranking in the series in road courses this year, thanks to iFantasy Race. This is a guy on a mission. He is at Michigan last week, had a really good car. Pit crew messed it up for him. Obviously, if this race comes down to pit stops, yeah, I think you got a good point. I don't know how much I trust the 45. But in terms of the driver, other than these two guys you have on the board, I don't know if there's anybody I trust more.
Here's the thing with Tyler Reddick when it comes to fantasy. He's averaging 29 points per game. That is the issue. That is the issue. That you have to go all the way down to Austin Cindric at 8,100 or Joey Logano at 7,900 to get someone who's not performing that well for fantasy. I'm not paying the piper here. I'm going to move forward. I'm also not going to pay the piper with Chase Elliott. I think we can just go ahead and throw him in a B tier if you want. He's always a threat to win. He has to win now, especially after his poor performance at Michigan, getting run off the track there. But I will not be paying that price either. Man, I would say next, I really don't like this top tier, man. I'm going to go Chris Buescher. Throw Chris Buescher up there. 9,200. Yeah. When you look at this kid, man, like, he is someone who is great at road courses. 4th in total speed rankings at the road courses since 2022 and for 2023 as well. So top 4, whether you're looking at for 2 years or a 1-year sample size. I'll talk a little bit more about him, but the guy does not miss on road courses. Is he going to win this one? I said no last week. I didn't think he was going to, but he's going to get you a top 10. And at the price tag of 9,200, I'd rather play for the safety that Buescher's going to get me than try and shoot for the upside of someone like Reddick and Elliott for another 1,000 or 2 more.
Yeah. One more point I had on Reddick there as I needed to catch my breath and get a sip of water was I totally understand your point. Generally, a lot of times he's not going to get you the more fantasy points. This isn't a general track. We're on the road courses here. He runs well. I have a lot of faith in the 45 for this week, but you're right. A lot of times as a general fantasy play, he can be a little touch and go. Yeah, chasing the B tier, I agree with that. He's got a threat to win, but the pressure will continue to mount on him. Can he go and win any of these 3 races to get in the playoffs? Absolutely. But with that much pressure on you,
I think it's the Glen. If he's going to do it, I think it's the Glen. I think it's more his pace. I think it's a little too chaotic at the beginning for him. Who else from this top tier do you like, Elliot? Because honestly, I have trouble fitting anyone else in this A tier.
It is tough. I think we probably have to shift, and maybe even with Buescher, you got your A pluses and then maybe your A minuses. There's a couple of guys who are worthy. Rather than go with a super hot take, I think the 5 of Larson is probably worth putting in the A's. In terms of speed ranking, he is 8th. Didn't have a great run at Coda. 2nd best speed ranking at Chicago. He's been pretty good at the road courses. I think that he's worthy of being in a pretty decent tier here. I can see the 5 car wanting to get back on track. They haven't had perfect runs lately. One of these road courses could be a good spot to do that heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, Kyle Larson. I mean, he's always someone who's in the mix of these road courses, but kind of finds some bad luck. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Chris Bell in the B tier. I'm still on the fade Bell train. He can't finish races. He has speed. This is one of his better tracks. But I'm going to be fading him once again here, Elliot.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. I'm more comfortable throwing a couple guys in the B tier. I will go with them. They're both sort of hot takes, I guess, with the way they've run this year. But I'm going to throw the 34 of Michael McDowell in the B tier. You know, obviously, we've lauded his consistency over Front Row Motorsports the last few years. This is about the earliest in a year that he knows where he's going to be driving next year. Front Row re-upping both of those guys. But on the road courses, McDowell has been a big-time threat to the point where in this total speed ranking, he is 2nd best in the entire series in this 34 car. You know, and they're at the point where they're in the playoff bubble on points. You know, normally that's not the case for this 34 team. So I think they're at the point now where, especially on road courses, they have to be considered as a top 5 or 10 contender.
Yeah, Michael McDowell, man, he has really impressed on the road courses this season. It's been fun to see. His price still isn't reflecting it either. 7,500. I think he's a little bit of a value. It's chalky as hell. Like that's what you're going to be riding because everyone wants to press that button on Michael McDowell for 7,500 here. All right, let's go back up towards the top a little bit. William Byron was really fast here last year, man. Had some of the best speed, and it just kind of didn't work out for him a year ago. Number 2 in the total speed rankings, finished 31, but that was a very outlier after Tisk finished there. So I think William Byron's going to have speed. And I think, can we just put AJ Allmendinger up in this tier too, Elliot?
Yeah, he was exactly where I was going to go with next. You know, Dinger's always a threat on the road courses for sure.
The issue with Dinger last year is got off to a really terrible start here. I don't know if he qualified towards the back or what it was, but it wasn't until the second half of the race that he really picked up in the total speed rankings. Ended up finishing 7th, so it was solid. And he does have a win here in the Cup Series, if you remember as well, Elliot.
He does, yep. Big time shocker that first year they came when he was still part-time with Colleague. So could easily get it done here and get that 16 into the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see, you know, how hard does he push, because he needs stage points more than anything. That's going to be his best friend, but a win locks you in. Anyone else in the B tier here for you, Elliot? Because it's getting harder and harder, honestly.
I think this is another point where we probably need a separation, because if we got to throw a few more in the Bs, I feel like, because otherwise our tier C is going to have 15 drivers in it. So I think we'll kind of have these as B minus C plus and then go into some other guys. And I am tempted to go with the ringers here. But I'm going to go against the ringers. I'm going to go with 2 full-timers. I'm going to go with a guy in Kyle Busch, who has really improved on road courses this year. RCR is better than they were for sure, which we'll bring up in another pick later. His total speed ranking is top 10 in the series and would have been higher if not for only being 23rd best at Chicago when he plowed. I think he was the first one to plow it into the fence in turn 6.
Yeah.
The first one who still has an active ride in the Cup Series, at least. We won't get into that. But Rowdy Busch, you know, I feel like he's almost becoming a more well-rounded driver. I mean, obviously he could win anywhere, but I feel like we appreciate it more with RCR than we did with JGR. Maybe it just got to the point where he was winning so much in that 18, we all just got tired of it, and now seeing a different color and different number on his car, maybe we just appreciate it more. And I'm going to put Ty Gibbs up here in the tier B too.
That's hot.
I've still had this Ty Gibbs hard on now for a few weeks, but he has been running well enough for me. He's been running well enough that I don't look that dumb doing it. You know, he's run up front. He's run top 5, 10 consistently, 7th in the series in road courses, ran well at Chicago. I've got a lot of faith in this kid, which, you know, if you told me that 2 years ago that I'd have faith in this kid, putting his head back on his shoulders, not running like an idiot and running consistently well in the Cup Series, you know, I'd be happy for him, and I'm happy to see it happening. And I think that that's worthy of tier B consideration.
Okay, I feel you. I like the Toyota vibe you're going on. Let me throw another Toyota out there. How about it? Let's I think in the B tier, for the price, let's take a man named Kimu Kobayashi. I think now's the time to take a stab at him. Those of you unknown to this guy, a little bit of a jack of all, Elliot, really. Like this guy's kind of raced everything from Formula One to some of the other Formula Series. Endurance racing's really big for him as well.
Yep.
Now he's kind of the class of the field when it comes to IMSA racing for the most part. So I'm listening to Dale Jr. earlier this week. He said he's been on the coverage from some of those races, and they're not supposed to say it, but like he whoops everyone's ass. He whoops everyone's ass in that series. Mm-hmm. He's been on the sims, and the rumors are that this guy is amazing on the sim as well. So I absolutely believe in the hype. I mean, you're taking hype at this point. That is what you're taking is hype. But at 7,100, all the optimal lineups at Chicago had SVG, and I think the optimal lineups are going to have Kobayashi here. I don't think it's going to be that chalky. It's going to be a little chalky, but I think there's going to be people who have never seen him race. Mm-hmm. More chalks going to SVG, and I would say even Brodie coming over from supercars to Kobayashi. So I'll go with him for a little bit of a leverage play.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a tweet. I think it was, I saw it from our friend Mark from Skybox, retweeting it with a bunch of laugh emojis, but something in one of the books, like 23% of the money's on SVG, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I don't know that he's going to come out and be dominant, but if one of these ringers is going to come out and be dominant, Kamui Kobayashi is definitely my pick. You know, I first heard of him when he was one of the endurance drivers running when Jimmy Johnson ran the endurance races like the Rolex 24 and things like that. And just everything I've heard about this guy has been that he is a damn good racer. And whether he wins or not, I'm not sure. But of course, we know 2311 can be good at road courses. If Bubba Wallace was a better road course driver, I would have him probably up in the C's too. That's a driver problem, and he'll admit it to you. Tyler Reddick's damn good on road courses. I expect the 67 to be fast. And I'll be very surprised if he doesn't end up in the top 10, unless it's one of these boneheads in the back taking him out if he gets caught back on pit strategy or something.
Yeah, man. And he just looks cool as fuck. Like, he looks like an anime character, honestly. Like, this is a guy who I think needs to show up just because he looks sweet as hell. So I'm going Kobayashi there in the B tier. Maybe another driver or two I like, Elliot, but like other than that.
I think we're good to bump down to the C's now, probably.
Okay, yeah. What do you like here, man? Are you going to talk me into the 42 or something here?
No, but I will go with another ringer. We're going to put Brodie Kostecki here in the C's. Same sort of deal as Kobayashi. You know, he's in good equipment. RCR 3 years ago, I would have said don't touch this guy. But especially because we saw a third Trackhouse car go in Chicago. We've seen, I mean, Travis Pastrana was top 10 in the 500 in the 67, wasn't he? I mean, that was mostly because of wrecks, or he would have been top 10, got taken out of a late wreck, but he finished well enough. And Kostecki, you know, everybody loves SVG. You know, nobody'd ever heard of him. He wins Chicago. He comes back. Everybody loves him. He's the hottest shit in the universe. I think he'll do great. He could even win again. It's definitely not guaranteed, and I don't think he's going to kick ass. I don't think any of these guys are going to really put on a whooping like SVG did, because that was a street course. That's unique. This is a road course guys have run on before, even if only a couple of times. Like, if these guys were racing the Glen, I would even put them in the C's or D's, but this is different.
Okay.
But anyway, back to Kostecki. He races in the same series that SVG does, and he's better in the point standings down there this year than SVG is. And RCR, I don't want to say they're better than Trackhouse, but they are more consistent than Trackhouse. I think part of that is veteran drivers compared to guys who have less experience than Chastain and Suarez. Obviously, KFB bringing that program up a little bit, in Austin Dillon. I know Austin Dillon's a silver spoon, whatever. Point is, this 33 car will be just as good as the 91 and the 67, or at least comparable enough that they can make a fight. Obviously, there's a difference. SVG's A, Kobayashi's B, Kostecki is C, and I think that's fair. But do not discount this 33 car is the point I'm trying to make.
See, and I'm going to be honest, I'm fading him a little bit just because I don't think the car is going to be as good. What we've seen out of Toyota is going to have late run speed here. SVG, I'm not really worried about it. We've already seen him do it. I think Ross is throw Ross up here. Ross is the next guy I think that deserves to be talked about here a little bit. Like, I think having SVG in that camp should help him. You can put Suarez up here as well, so if you want to, Elliot. Both coming in 8,300, 8,500, but having SVG on those sims, like, that is something you cannot take for granted. Having him in that camp, showing what he can do, and giving these guys, even though they're Cup Series veterans, I think Ross is going to be really good here, though. Top 10 in speed rankings at road courses since 2022. And, I mean, he was competing for the win last year. He went out of bounds a little bit, but, you know, got nifty with it. So Yeah, I like Trackhouse as a whole. I am fading Brodie just a little bit, but you made great points. I can't fight you on that. I'm just gonna fade the car a little bit.
That's the mistake we all made with SVG, though. It's a talented driver. We weren't certain about the car, and we were like, well, this is a guy who's never done this before. I'm not worried about it. I brought up his outright as a joke, basically, in that Chicago show. And I wish that, obviously I wish that some of these odds were better. I had Kostecki or Kobayashi had the same odds as SVG did at Chicago. We'd all be definitely jumping on that. Not that we didn't jump on it anyway. More on that a little later. But again, if this was the Glen, if this was Sonoma, even if it was the Roval, I probably discount these guys a little more. Indy Road Course is unique enough, and also the more racing series racing on it gives you more experience there. I'm not going to discount these guys. SVG showed up and said, you got to take us seriously. Road Course Ringer era is back, like I said.
Who else do you like in the C tier, Ellie? Is there anyone that I'm looking over? I have one or two guys maybe that I think fit this bill.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to put 4 or 5 guys in here just as housekeeping, and then I'll give you the floor if you've got notes on them. I think Harvick's worthy of C, just because he's at least a C everywhere. He's not the greatest road course guy.
He let people down I was glad I didn't have any Harvick. He let people down at Michigan, man.
Yeah, that wasn't his best run there. But, that is what it is with Harvick. I think that the 11 of Hamlin should probably be up in C. The 12 of Blaney and the 22 of Logano are all worthy of C just because of their pedigree, I feel like. Do you have any objections or any thoughts on any of these guys more specifically?
No, Hamlin's been balls fast everywhere he goes, man. I think he's going to continue to throw that nutsack over his shoulder and just keep digging in here. So I like Hamlin. The issue with him is he hasn't had a top 10 on any of these road courses this season, but he has the 11th at Sonoma. He was fast at Sonoma. He qualified on the pole at Chicago Street. Denny Hamlin has had speed at these tracks. He just really hasn't had the finish. Ryan Blaney, he's been so slow, so bad. Like, it is comically sad. Like, you look at where he is in these total speed rankings from this season. It is terrible, Elliot, when you look at his road courses. Let me pull it up here. He is number 32 on the list, right in front of Harrison Burton.
I didn't even scroll down that far to see that on my iPad. I think I'm putting him in the D's after seeing that. My God.
Yeah. That's the issue with Ryan Blaney. However, he has a top 10 here. He was top 10 last year. He ran really good at Indy Road Course. You are getting a little bit of a discount on DraftKings at him as well. Not on our other site, Fan Tracks, that we like to use, but 7,700. So you can talk me into it, but it's just been so bad on road course. I'm good there. As we're kind of talking about him, I don't know how. I'd have to go back and watch it, but Harrison Burton got third on this track last year, so I think he's a D driver this week.
I think he's a D, but also, do you want to know the one driver that's worse in the total speed ranking?
It is Harrison Burton. Yeah,
it's Harrison Burton.
Yeah,
I agree. He's one of those guys that's been running better than we expected lately, and I think he could have some momentum here, especially because he's a guy who, let's say he's 17th with 5 to go, and there's chaos in front of him. He's a guy that can get through that chaos and runs well at these chaotic races, stays out of trouble when other people cause the chaos.
Well, yeah, I was riding the top 10, the long shot on him last week, and didn't come to fruition, but he was running top 10 at some of the race, and he looked really good at times. So, like, it was cool to see him up there. Like, he's getting better in this Cup Series car, so it's cool to see him. I think throw Brad in that C tier. If we're high on Buescher, we kind of have to be a little bit high on Brad.
That's the rule we've established the last couple weeks with RFK. Is usually
this is the farthest we've had them apart ever. They're usually like right next to each other, but 6,900 for Brad here. He doesn't jump off the page. I think when you look at his road course stats, and I think when you look at this track in specifically, 22 average finish for him. So it hasn't been great, but it hasn't been bad for Brad. And at the price you're getting him at, 6,900, like, he's right there with Bowman as well.
Yeah. All right. So there's maybe a couple C's I could break open here. It definitely gets tougher here. I'll make you real happy with this one that I'll throw in the D's. I'm going to put Austin Cindric in the D's.
Oh, geez.
I know that we had, you mentioned last week, is it even worth talking about him the rest of the year? But the numbers are okay. 20th in total speed ranking is right about mid-pack. And at Michigan, he was respectable enough that, like, I kind of knew where Austin Cindric was running. That normally wasn't the case,
Finished 12th, yeah.
Yeah, had a decent run. I think he's worthy of being in the D tier, especially when you look at some of these guys that we've got left. Cindric's one of the better plays here.
Yeah, I don't mind Cindric. I'm not paying the price, so 8,100. You can catch me.
It's a little steep, but also that's why he's in the D's.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go a little. I don't know if they have his pricing out, to be honest, but I would like to play Jensen Button in some way. Jensen Button, man, whenever he gets in this 15 car, he's been very solid for lineups this season. I rode him back at the street course, didn't really come to fruition, kind of went backwards a little bit there, but looked good, qualified in the top 10 for Chicago Street. This is another guy I think who really wants to get into the Cup Series or in NASCAR much more than he is running right now. So yeah, I believe in Button, man. Rick Ware Racing, like hallelujah, they're coming back, baby. So yeah, give me some Button there. Who else, man? Who else belongs here? Because like your 48's got to be somewhere. I don't care where you put him, but Alex Bowman actually, I'm pretty sure, doesn't he have an Xfinity win, or maybe not a win, but he got like second here in Xfinity or something?
He was second in Xfinity last year in that Hendrick car. And I was going to probably put the 48 as one of my D guys. The numbers, again, it's the same as Michigan last week, and I called it. The numbers are great. He's fifth best in the series on road courses. He's an underrated road course driver. But this 48 team is fucking snake bit. They are absolutely snake bit this summer. They still have not had a top 10 since he's come back from the concussion. They have good cars, and then some shit happens. One of the better cars in Michigan. I'm excited all Sunday night. Bowman's in second. He probably should have been in the lead. This is the best car they've had in months. Ends up getting caught back on pit strategy, involved in someone else's mess, fucking crashes himself out. This team is snake bit. They are not making the playoffs unless somehow there's a miracle at the bubble and they point in, finishing fucking 7th 3 weeks in a row. I don't have any faith in it. Indy Road Course last year and maybe even the year before, involved in the chaos, involved in incidents back of the field. If this 48 finishes in the top 25, I'll be shocked. I'll be pleasantly surprised. I love the numbers. Just he'll be running 4th and get decked with 5 to go and finish 27th. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So when you play him because of the numbers and it happens, I'll come here and laugh in your face. You know, that's just where I am with the 48. And this is everybody if you've watched this show for 10 seconds, you know Bowman's my guy. There's just all of my faith in the 48 is crushed. But all right, we'll go on a more positive note now. There's a couple more road course ringers. I think the 42 of Mike Rockenfeller is worthy of at least a D, but D or an F, I'll let you decide. But here's the thing with the 42. We all know what happened with the 42 ride. We're not going to talk about it unless you really have some opinion to say. But they've got Rockenfeller in here. He's run in the Cup Series before. He's run in stock cars before. Obviously, not the same results as some of these other guys that we have higher up. But Eric Jones has been a guy that we've talked about as the 43 team running better, potentially having a chance to sneak into the playoffs if a couple miracles happen, if they can get a win. But regardless, a guy who's become a safer top 10 bet. This is a chance to find out, is the 42 team on equal footing to the 43? And we can even put the 43 into
yes,
a
please.
I'll let you talk about that in a minute. But this is a really good opportunity to see if legacy has improved, putting a guy who's good at road courses to see if that 42 runs on par with the 43.
I think Eric Jones belongs in the C tier, if we're going to be honest with you. I know we kind of skipped him there. Eric Jones, when you look at what he's been doing lately, been really fast, got another top 10. I know you and Rod were on it last week, so congrats to you guys. 11th average finish here, though. 10th and 12th here the last 2 seasons. On DraftKings right now, you're getting a steal, 6,300. So tell me why not to put him in the lineup.
Yeah, I think Jones in the C is probably worth it, especially at that price. But man, it's going to be slim pickings. I'll give you a pick here since I threw a couple guys up on the board.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse actually surprisingly jumps off the page when you look at driver averages here. Finished 11th and 13th the last 2 years, so that's an average finish of 12th. It hasn't always been great for Ricky Stenhouse. If you tried playing him at Chicago Street like I did, you got burned. He was terrible there. But actually at the other road courses this season, Ricky Stenhouse has been serviceable. 15th best total speed ranking at Sonoma and Coda as well. So I am interested in Ricky Stenhouse a little bit. That's a leverage play. Not a lot of people are going to be on him for 5,500. Oh, geez. Geez. Justin Haley.
Right. He was one of my other guys. Do you think D or F for him? I think.
Give him a D. Justin Haley's actually been really good here. Finished 8th last season, 19th the season before. But I mean, Chicago Street showed up. Like, this guy can show up on road courses. We've seen him do it in the Xfinity series as well. You want to look at his Xfinity average finish here, 2.5. Has finished in the top 5 twice that he's been in that series running this race. So I think Justin Haley likes this track a lot. I'm really liking some of these kind of I like Stenhouse. I like Jones. I think you can build a nice lineup if you want to pay up for SVG and some of these other, established guys, and then kind of take your shot with these guys. Like, it feels much more deeper this week than usual, Elliot.
It does, yeah. I mean, this is more than we've had in our B's, C's, and D's, I think, all season, just finding guys that provide you some value one way or another. But then when we get down to the F's, and I mean, Briscoe may be worth it because he's run well here before. Maybe he's worth throwing in the F's. You got any other shots here?
Oh God, they've
Maybe
all been
Dylan, maybe Almirola. I mean,
no, Dylan's average here is 30.5.
Well, he was, I forget if it was on Pit Strategy. He was kind of up front at Chicago as well. But if we're going to call that a unicorn, then
Chase Briscoe belongs in the F. Average finish of 24.5 here. Chase Briscoe's been better. Same with Ryan Preece. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Preece. Only has one run here in the Cup Series. 35 is his average finish here, so not great. Other than that, man, like if our guy BJ was in, I'd shout out BJ. Throw Bubba in there.
Yeah, I think Bubba or the F's just because of the equipment. But
yeah, the issue. So here's the thing with Bubba Wallace. He has an average finish here of actually 9.9. One of his best road courses. He has a 5th place finish and he has a 13th. So I think he probably belongs in the D's. Honestly, I think maybe we overlooked him. But the thing with Bubba is if he qualifies towards the top, you're not getting any differential, and he could qualify towards the top because he has a Toyota and he has good equipment, like Elliot said. But you're gonna probably have it's like playing Tyler Reddick or Chris Bell right now. It's just not really the move. So yeah. Other than that, I think you can kind of take it away here, Elliot, and just give your one sentence on the rest of these gyms.
Yeah, I mean, I concur with having Dylan unranked, but let's consider him the top unranked guy, just because maybe there's something there. I don't know. Corey LaJoie and Ty Dillon in the Spire cars. We know that they're not a threat on road courses at all. Eric Almirola.
Yeah,
Todd Dillon.
31st speed ranking at road courses since 2022 for Eric Almirola. He's been dog shit here. He's not going to be good. Do not play him.
Yeah, there's nothing to say about Almirola, really. Todd Gilliland, not a huge road course guy. He's toward the bottom of these speed rankings as well. Andy Lally in the 51, another road course ringer.
Lally.
He's a guy who I think has been out of the seat long enough at this point that he just is not racing enough to be competitive. I was high on him. I forget maybe Sonoma or something, or Coda. He was in the 51, and I was like, keep an eye on him, and he was consistently the worst car all day.
Dude is electric in the booth, though. Get him in the fucking booth.
Put him in the booth for every road course race rather than on the track. Take him out of that 51, let somebody else in there. Have him as one of the guys. I don't know if NBC's doing radio style. I feel like they always do for road courses.
I love it.
Put him up there in the booth with Rick and Steve and have, all the other guys around the turns and have great road course analysis. But I think he's better as an analyst than he is in the car here at this point. And then Josh Bilicki in the 78. He's good enough on road courses that Live Fast puts him in there every road course. So that's got to mean something, right?
Yeah, man. Josh Bilicki, bro. We love the Live Fast guys. Very kind people. We love Matt Tiff. We love we love that whole gang over there. So yeah, nothing.
Sadly, not much of an opportunity to give them love in fantasy. But
no, hey, Daytona though. Our time is coming, BJ. Right. Our time is coming, baby. We're gonna ride this.
Give it a couple weeks. Seth is gonna throw BJ McLeod in Tier B, and Rod and I'll have to burn him at the stake for it. But
let's go. All right, Ellie. Let's go ahead. Enough on the DFS. I think let's jump into some parking garage props.
Sounds great.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
oh, geez.
Popped the wrong one there.
All right, Elliot. So when we're looking at the books this week, and I will say road courses are one of my favorite NASCAR tracks to bet. I think you get a lot of options, especially with some of these books like Caesars. Shout out Caesars. Man, I said this in a tweet, and I think I just need to restate on the podcast as well. The next couple weeks are going to be very important for the NASCAR betting industry. Mm-hmm. Barstool Sportsbook for the majority of this season has been carrying the load. They have had great odds in a timely fashion up until about Pocono, Elliot. They kind of got slow. I think they changed some algorithm stuff on their site. And now with ESPN Bet coming, I'm not expecting a whole lot coming from Barstool here. So, if anyone's watching, if you guys know someone or you happen to work for a sports book, one of these major ones, like now's the time to get into NASCAR. Let's go. There's an open market. So I'm going to Caesars. I thought Caesars had some very generous odds out there. How did you feel about the books looking at it, Elliot, from a holistic point of view?
Yeah, in terms of the whole Barstool thing, if you didn't know, Barstool Sportsbook, it was owned by Penn National Gaming, who also owned the majority, if not all, of the Barstool brand.
Penn
That is
Nash,
no longer
baby.
a thing. There was a deal this week where Penn National sold all of Barstool's brand back to Dave Portnoy for almost nothing. There was a sell-on clause there that says if Portnoy were ever to sell Barstool again, Penn would get 50%. Why would Dave Portnoy ever sell Barstool again? I don't know. That's another podcast. But so Penn National Gaming now with the sportsbook that is currently branded Barstool Sportsbook is now in the coming months going to be branded as ESPN Bet, I believe, right? In a deal with ESPN. So I believe, I don't know how long that takes to change. I'm sure there's regulations there. My assumption is that with some of these lower value offerings like NASCAR, that Barstool Sportsbook, while they're transitioning out of that brand, is probably not going to have a lot there. I think with NFL, because NFL is such a huge commodity, they'll still have a good bit of NFL offerings in that transition. But in terms of everything else, I'd be kind of surprised. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. But Seth, if you've been saying that since Pocono, normally I look at Caesars, normally I don't look at Barstool. That siren is, sorry about that. But there's always something in this. Every week. Never do I hear any noises. I never notice them. But every week there's some guy revving his motorcycle or some siren that goes right by the house. So, all right, let me get off my soapbox here, finish off my thoughts so we can get into the props here. Point is, books like Caesars, other books coming up, Rod's favorite Superbook, all of those things. Point is, they're going to be better offerings for NASCAR.
Yeah, you need to have a Caesars account if you're trying to bet NASCAR. And also, look into some of these local books as well. Like, we have a couple different ones. I think we have Twin Peaks. We have Betfred here in Pennsylvania. Whatever you guys have, you can get fucking Superbook. Superbook looks awesome. I am so jealous of everyone who has that.
Every week, Rod throws out like somebody's plus, let's say 1,400 on Caesars, and they're plus 2,000 for an outright on Superbook. It's like, God damn, man, I want some of those odds.
Yeah. So just we say it a lot on the show, but keep your head on a fucking swivel. Make sure you're looking at different books. Make sure you're, opening new accounts if you can. A lot of times you can get some bonuses. You can get a little bit of, a bet $10, get $200 in credit. Start exploring that. Now is the time, because we don't know what this landscape is going to look like by the time Daytona rolls around next year. All right, let's get into the outrights here. I have one right now. This is one of those races that I really want to watch practice, because practice has been really important lately, man. Last week at Michigan, if you watch that practice, you probably really liked Buescher after it. Chicago Street, SVG, he shot up the boards. And with the prices that we're getting a lot of these guys, like SVG, you're getting him 6 to 7 to 1. I like that price. I would bet that price, but I do want to wait till practice just to confirm that, because I think if anything, he drops to 5 to 1, maybe. I know a lot of the money's coming on him. Elliot, we're seeing a lot of the money coming on SVG. But with all this being said, I have a sprinkle right now on Kamui
Kobayashi.
Thank you.
I believe.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
He's right now. He's live 40 to 1 on Caesars. Also 5 to 1 for a top 5, plus 150 for a top 10. I have a sprinkle on all those markets.
As do I.
Yes, and I think the reason I'm on Kobayashi, I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but this is a guy who's literally done everything. Endurance racing, F1, now he's just the IMSA god. And I think when you see a guy who has been on the sim as much as him, and you don't get like Dale Jr., one of the all-time GOATs, like out there on his podcast talking about how wicked this guy is in the sim without it being true. I'm buying into the hype. I am buying into the hype. At 40 to 1, he's worth a sprinkle on everyone's card, and 5 to 1 for a top 5 as well, Elliot.
Yeah, the Kobayashi odds look great. And, the question is he going to be more Jensen Button, or is he going to be more SVG? I think the car he's in means he's going to be competitive.
It's a Yoder, man. Yeah.
Good Toyota, and just his competitiveness and dominance in all the racing cars we've seen him run. This is a guy with versatility. This is a guy that's going to be in a good car. And this is a guy that, unlike the last time the 67 ran, obviously Travis Pastrana's got a lot of motorsports experience, but in terms of stock cars, wasn't really the case for him. He had a crummy season with Roush, 10 years ago when Roush was down in the shitter. But I really have faith that this is going to be a good day for him. Like I said, the only thing that worries me, I think that if it's just him running his race, he's in the top 5. At worst, 11.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him getting caught up in somebody else's shit at the back of the field and ending up 36 because of it.
He gonna learn today. Just like SVG
exactly.
did.
Corey LaJoie is going to send it too deep into one. And that's
at least there's no Noah Gragson this weekend to get into turn 6 and not be able to get out of it.
Anyone else have got to feel a lot safer this weekend.
Yes. Any other outrights pre-practice and qualifying that you're interested in here, Elliot? Again, I like SVG. I know there was one that you threw out. I think that was a special Caesars was offering on SVG.
Yeah, so I have either one of SVG or Brodie Kostecki to win the race is at plus 700. Kostecki, the number 33, his odds are plus 1,800. Again, back to what I said when I put him in the tiers. He's a guy who's coming from the same discipline as SVG. He's a guy that's probably going to be in comparable equipment. The only difference is it's not a street course that nobody in NASCAR has done before. It's a road course that even though it hasn't been run often, it's more of a traditional road course. And I'd have to go back. This is something that just popped into my mind. Should have researched this. When we went to Daytona road course a couple of times, that's something NASCAR hadn't run on. How did the ringers do? I know Chris Bell won a race there. I think Chase won a race there. Wouldn't surprise me if he won a damn Daytona road course. But point is, when you have these tracks that guys have only run on a couple of times, how do these ringers do? But also, this is unprecedented. This isn't Boris Said in some back marker.
I love Boris
Jones and extra Robbie Gordon Motorsports car. This is top drivers from other disciplines of the series, or other disciplines of motorsports in their prime coming into the Cup Series when the cars are more equal than they've ever been. So this is the best time to be a road course ringer, and obviously these guys are throwing it in there.
Yeah. If I'm going to bet SVG right now, you might as well take the 7-1 on him and Brodie combined because 7-1 is better than what you're getting most.
Right now. Plus 600 was odds right now. Not awful, but definitely not the plus 5,000 it was at into Chicago. I don't love that number, especially because it is going to go down. If you're going to get an SVG outright, do it right now.
I think we can jump then into the prop position market unless there's anything else in outrights that you want to cover, Elliot.
I'm definitely not as serious about some of these other ones I have on the sheet here. I have a Chris Buescher has an odds boost for plus 2,500 for him to go 3 in a row.
I'm good on that.
You can't roll it out. Some other numbers I have in here. AJ is plus 1,600. Your boy Austin Cindric is plus 2,800.
I'm good. I'm good.
Michael McDowell plus 3,000.
It is a good number on AJ's not a bad number for 16-1 on a road course, especially one he has won in the Cup Series. Mm-hmm. It's just like right now, I think he has to play for points, and I think he knows that. Like, I don't think any of us thought he would be in the points conversation at this point in the season, but he is. So I think he'll be a little less aggressive than we see him on some of these road courses where he has to win.
I do have a counterpoint for you there, though. You don't have to worry about points if you win a race.
It's true, but you can't ruin your day either.
That is true. Yeah, you got to race smart, but being up front in one of those top 2 rows consistently, if he can run top 5 all day, I think he's relatively safe, unless it's just one more that comes up and hits him. If you're not in the back of the pack, if you're running up front, it's the same thing Dale Jr. always says on their restrictor plates. If you don't get caught up on the mess, don't run in the back all day. Run up front all day.
Yeah.
You'll stay out of the mess for the most part. So that's what I like about AJ. One more with AJ. He's running Xfinity because, of course, he is. AJ winning the Xfinity race and Chase Elliott getting the win in the Cup Series as a combo is plus 2,000 on Caesars. I didn't love it either, but it was definitely worth bringing up.
Yeah. If you want to get invested in Chase Elliott right now, I know I don't. I tried that last week and it didn't end up well.
It's just a trendy thing that's thrown out as an offer every week because everyone wants Chase to win. Most popular.
Right. Let's go to the prop market. Let's go to top 5s, top 10s, what we're liking out there. And I'm going to start by laying a little bit of juice here, Elliot. And I know laying juice at a road course isn't everyone's favorite thing to do. However, we're going to do it. We're going to do it on the kid out of Prosper, fucking Texas, baby. He's been counted out. He's been looked down on. And now he has won 2 races in a row. Chris Buescher, talk about a guy's confidence who has to be sky high right now. And when you look at what he's done at road courses, 8 of the 9 road courses in the next-gen car, he has placed in a top 10 bet. 3 for 3 this year. And it's like our guy Rod always says, you only pay the juice if you lose. So I'm going to pay the juice here on Chris Buescher, minus 160 over on Caesars. I think that's a really good offering. When you look over on Barstool, he's minus 200 something. So I think minus 160, I'll ride it, man.
Yeah, it's certainly not bad at all. I got a couple top 5s and deleting a couple top 10s out of here that I look back on after the tiers. I'm like, what the hell was I looking at that top 10 for? Also, I don't know if this was the case with you on Caesars. When I opened up Caesars today, it sorted the drivers not in the order of like the favorites at the top. It was alphabetical.
Oh.
Allmendinger was at the top, so it was kind of a mess to get through some of these numbers. Just another little weird thing that came out. So hopefully I can figure out how to get that fixed on Caesars. But top fives, Tyler Reddick at plus 110. You're damn near paying juice there. But for a guy who's so good at road courses, I don't hate that number. These guys, I probably like the top 10 numbers more than the top fives, but a lot of value. Michael McDowell plus 320 for a top five. And Justin Haley, if you think you can repeat a Chicago Magic, plus 800 for a top five.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see what Michael McDowell's top 10 number is. I don't know if I can get him to quite a top five this week with all the ringers in it.
That is true. But
plus 110 on Barstool for Michael McDowell. That's not a bad. I don't mind that at all. Yeah. And Justin Haley, we talked about it, guys. Justin Haley's been really, really sneaky here at the Indy Road Course. He loves it, man. 2.5 average finish in the Xfinity Series, and then here in Cup as well, has an 8th place finish. So if you like Justin Haley, if you like him, maybe sticking the bird out to the team one more time on his way out, hey, maybe that's the way to do it. So yeah, I don't mind those at all. Last one I want to throw out in this market here, Elliot, SVG top 5 plus 140 on Caesars. He's minus money over on Barstool and over on DraftKings as well. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it. He's just less prone to make mistakes now, man. I think he's going to run a clean race. And I'd be very surprised if it's not a top 5. It was a failure of a race for him. And I think he'll view it that way. And I think Trackhouse will view it. So I'm going to bet on an experienced guy now. I say experienced with quotes, but he has one race in this Cup Series car and a lot of sim work. So yeah, give me some SVG top 5 plus 140.
Something that'll be fun to watch too. I didn't pull up what his odds are in the truck race, but the truck series is racing the smaller Indianapolis Raceway Park oval. He's going to be in a Nice Motorsports truck. So he's trying to get work in on the ovals, anticipating a jump over to one of the top 3 series for next year. That'll be fun to watch too if you're a big SVG fan. A couple of top 10 numbers just to throw out there. Eric Jones at plus 500 for a top 10. Again, just because he's been running so consistent.
Yeah, he's been hot, man.
Yeah. Kobayashi is a plus 200. Again, can't say enough about this guy. Harrison Burton at plus 200 is not bad either for a top 10. And then Mike Rockenfeller in that 42 plus 1,400. Again, if he and Jones are competitive enough and close enough, that could very well happen as well.
Did you say Harrison Burton?
Harrison Burton plus 1,200 for a top
10.
I
mean, I don't know how. Again, I think it was the chaos at the end of the race, how he got that 3rd place finish. But yeah, Harrison Burton's
guy who can thrive in chaos and make it up there and keep your car clean.
Yeah. Also, SVG to win that truck race outright right now, 30-1, folks. I will not be getting on that. He's never driven a truck, so I think I'm good on that. But hey, we said the same thing about a Cup car a couple months ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're running street courses, road courses. I don't think he's ever run on an oval. Definitely not. Obviously not in a truck. Probably definitely not in a stock car. It's good that he's getting out there, getting the experience, but I mean, 15th is where I'm expecting him to finish. 15th or getting dumped by Carson Hocevar or something,
All right. Let's go ahead. Let's get into head-to-heads and groups. How you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, normally some of the head-to-heads, we see this a lot where they're the same matchups all the time. And we see it a lot where there's a lot of juice to be paid. And I don't like paying juice. But I've got a couple head-to-heads.
You don't.
I've got a couple head-to-heads, and I've got one where I'm paying juice. So we can start with that one. We've got Michael McDowell and Ross Chastain, both at minus 115. And I'm taking the 34 car. I'm hot on McDowell's road course experience. I also have Kevin Harvick at plus 105 over Alex Bowman, who's minus 135, because I expect the 48 car to be 32nd in the DNF. I have AJ Allmendinger plus 110 over SVG, who is at minus 140.
Can't do it. No way.
It could happen, though. If they're both running up front, I know SVG's the hot hand. Allmendinger finishing ahead of him wouldn't be a surprise to me. Same with this one, where it's another. I think you'll probably have the same reaction because it's sort of the same sort of matchup, just 2 different guys. I have Reddick plus 105 over MTJ minus 133. Totally understandable. SVG, MTJ, they're the favorites. They're the guys you put at the front of the board. But this is a situation where they can finish 7th and 8th, and Allmendinger and Reddick are 4th and 5th, and they win the matchup.
I think you're hoping it for those ones, in my opinion. I think if you're playing Dinger over SVJ or Reddick over MTJ, you're hoping they wreck. Like, I just don't see a world.
I don't think that it's that, with how good they are on road courses, I don't think that it's that,
maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
1 or 2 spots ahead of them, but you only need 1 spot. Even if it's, Allmendinger bump and runs SVG on the last lap, that's still a matchup win.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna take you. I'm
know,
gonna take you
I
back.
don't have to convince you. I just mean that's my thought process. You can have your
No.
thought.
No. I'm gonna go back down to Juicetown where I live in, and I'm gonna pay the Juice here -120 SVG over Chris Bell. And Chris
That's a
Bell,
really good. Yeah.
yeah, Chris Bell had some speed here, man. But I've been fading Chris Bell for months now, and it has paid off every week. It did not pay off last week because William Byron also somehow wrecked early in that race. Just kind of got caught up in one, in my opinion. But it SVG over him just makes total sense to me. And then I also have Buescher over Brodie. And to me,
That's not bad either.
Chris Buescher is the hottest driver in NASCAR the last month. He is in great equipment. He is 8 for 9, finishing top 10 on road courses. Meanwhile, Brodie, never driven this car, third RCR car, has a ton of sim work, ton of sim work. But I don't know. I just can't get behind Brodie over Buescher right now. So those are my two. I have a little bit of parlay action on them as well.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, for Buescher, something that I don't have in front of me right now, I'm almost curious what his title odds now. Because, I mean, it would take a lot for him to even get into the Final Four, I feel like. But he's the highest seeded
20 to 1.
20 to 1. That's not that bad. That may be worth throwing a little bit of coin on.
Let's say this. Ryan Blaney is 13 to 1. Chase Elliott, who's not even the playoffs, is 18 to 1. So I think Buescher at 20 to 1 is a very fair deal. Yes.
This is one that would have been better if we had time to do another like championship odds show. But you look at it, he won Bristol in the playoffs last year. And there are very favorable tracks across the board for how RFK was running before they had a guy win 2 races in a row.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time. If you're going to jump on Chris Buescher, now's the time. I was happy we got on Martin Truex Jr. We got on him right after.
That one perfectly. So I'm riding that wave.
Yeah, we have a 9
better odds here coming.
We have 9 to 1 Martin Truex Jr. to win the championship right now. You can get him about 4 to 1 most places. So it's getting lower and lower, and I'm feeling good about having that ticket in our back pocket, Elliot. Let's go ahead. Let's go groups. I know you had one that I think we are both on the same side of.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense that the odds were laid out this way. So it's a group of 4. It's Group E on Caesars. Chris Bell is the favorite of this group at +220.
Yeah, I think this was a misprice.
This was a major misprice, especially after you guys hear the rest of these drivers. So Bell is the favorite at +220. Kyle Busch is at +230. Kyle Larson is +260. SVG is at +260. So I have coin on both the 91 and the 5. I think they're far and away better than the 8 and 20 this week. I have no idea they're the lower priced ones on this.
I have to think that the books, honestly, like this was legit like a typo or something. They meant to price.
I think they fucked it up for sure.
Because SVG is the favorites in all the odds when you're looking at everything among these guys. So yeah, like guys, right now, I'm not kidding. Pull out Caesars, go over there.
If you have Caesars up, maybe this isn't even up this way anymore. I don't know. Maybe
and even
maybe we'll see our coin we laid on it back in our accounts in the morning. So like, we're not doing this shit. No way.
I know you had a little bit of money on Kyle Larson in this as well, which I don't mind. But SVG to me all the way. We've talked enough about this guy. I think he's going to come in some good equipment and tear it up there. So yeah, I like that one as well. I want to throw out my special, or actually, I'll give you the floor. Throw out your special, and then I'll round it out here.
All right, so I don't have this on my board, but I did throw a little bit on Ford winning just because Ford's been so hot. Ooh. And believe it or not, again, this is another one where I need to actually put my money where my mouth is because I did this week. I didn't do this last week. Seth, I don't know if you remember. What was my number 1 bet of the week last week?
Ford to win.
Ford to win. I don't put any money on it. Ford wins.
Yeah, every bet I throw out, I got money on. I have to.
Yeah, so that's the way I'm playing it now for sure. The only other one, and again, I do have coin on this. Race going to overtime at +160 seems like an absolute slam dunk. We're going to get chaos late. Unless we have literally all of stage 3 go green, you know these fuckers are going to wreck at the end of this race. We're seeing overtime, if not 4 overtimes.
Yeah, I need to look back at the data for this one. I saw this one. I didn't have the time to pull the data before the show. But I am interested a little bit in this one because, like you said, that it's turn 1, man. Again, I know they changed it. They changed the restart zone a little bit to make it hopefully not happen as much. But this is it's this and Coda, man. You can expect these 2 road courses out of all of them to go to overtime. So yeah, I'm at 160. I'm willing to lay that. I just need to do a little more additional research. I think to lock that in, but I'm going to consider it for my card, Elliot.
Here's your research: is just pull up turn 1 Indy Road Course crashes and just
Hell
see
yeah.
all the races we have in there. Again, if it's a race, because there's no stage cautions at road courses, if it's a race where we see maybe one incident and it's a spread out green flag thing, I get it. But if there's even one little slip up at the end, if one dude spins, can't get it moving, brings out a caution with 7 to go, I mean, it's another hour at that point. We're seeing 4 overtimes. We're seeing every finishing position in the field change.
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting.
Keep the head on a fucking swivel. Keep the head on a fucking swivel. We got my guy Hoove in the chat. Hoove, good to see you, man. I'm going to see you in person tomorrow out there at the Fantasy Football Expo. Good to see you tonight on the show. I'm going to round it out, guys. This bet, a lot of these top 10 Caesars plus odds boosts that we get, I don't try to invest in too much. But every couple months, I find one that I'm locking in on the card, and we got one this week. Kobayashi, we talked about him already. I think he can be a really, really fast car, really great on the sim, and some good Toyota equipment. Chris Buescher, 8 for 9 in this car, the next generation NASCAR Cup car. And I think he's going to be a lock for a top 10. So we need him, and we need Ross Chastain to make this trifecta for this top 10. Kobayashi, Buescher, Ross, top 10 over on Caesars, 10-1 here. And I'm going to make the case for Ross. Top 10 in speed rankings at road courses since 2022. If you're looking at just this year, 9th at road courses this year. And I know it's the inconsistency at late, but I really think SVG being in that camp help. And also this is a guy who loves this racetrack. I mean, he was threatening. Win OB last year and also has those 2 top 10s in Xfinity here as well. So I'm going to ride Ross. He's my guy. I don't have the Ross hat on tonight, but I'm going to ride him. And hopefully our other 2 friends, Buescher and Kobayashi, they're the 2 guys I bet the most this week of. So I felt like, having them in this bet and my guy Ross, I couldn't pass it up, Elliot.
Yeah, I mean, Ross is the worry there for sure. Buescher, the numbers and the record point to it. Kobayashi, we're expecting him to run competitively. 10-1, this is pretty solid. I can't complain with that.
Get down with me, Elliot. Get down with me. Let's have a fucking day.
We'll see if I like it enough to lay some real coin on it.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, man. The growth on the channel last couple weeks has just been insane. So thank you guys. The more you guys support us, the more you like the videos, the more you subscribe, the more we will have time to bring this content to you. It really, really helps us. So we greatly appreciate it. Elliot, you've been tearing it up over between here and on the site with all the writing you've been doing. So excited to have more of that come up as well. Send us home, my friend.
For sure. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties. Not my favorite night to have all that happen. But, hey, it's been a fun one. Indy Road Course is going to be a good time. If you're a big fan of Squiggly season, we got Watkins Glen again next week. So tune in for that. Seth, have a great time at the Fantasy Football Expo, and everyone else watching who also likes the other fantasy sports. I'm sure you guys will have a great time. And lastly, thanks again for rolling on down the back road with us week in, week out. We appreciate you here at In Between Media. Good luck on your bets, and we'll see you again next week.